Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Isaac Segunro here. In this video, I'm going to be going over how to make edits in a gallery to a certain item. So for example, if you're looking at my screen, take a look at this. It's already in live. So if I click on the pencil, you see the save comes up, these boxes comes up, and I can make changes. So for example, if I say Isaac and I click save, it changes it. It updates the SharePoint list. Right now it's Clark. So you just updated it to Isaac. Not only that, but it also updated the collection that's in this gallery. Now, in the process of doing this, we're going to learn about the gallery. We're going to learn about adding a column to a gallery using the add columns function. We're going to talk about updating the gallery or the collection so that it can sync with the SharePoint list, because when your SharePoint list updates, you also want your gallery or your collection to update as well. So that's what we're going to be learning today. This is for beginners, intermediate as well. So buckle up and let's get started. First and foremost, let me show you my list. So our data source is a SharePoint list. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the onVisible property of this new screen. And in our new screen, we're going to create a collection. Now, for those of you who don't know, especially for my beginners, a collection is like a simple database or a spreadsheet that's inside of a Power Apps application. So for example, if you look at this SharePoint list here, this is sort of like a spreadsheet where it has rows. It also have columns, first name, last name, purchase date. These are columns in the SharePoint list. So a collection also behaves in the same way. It's used to hold data, but also to manipulate that data that comes from a variety of different sources. So let's go ahead and go back to Power Apps, and we are going to create a collection. Now, on the onVisible property of this screen 4, I'm going to come into the function screen, and we're going to create a collection. So there are two ways to do that. One, you have the collect. The collect just adds records to a data collection. And then you have clear collect, which it does the same thing, but whenever you come to that screen, it's going to clear the collection and then add the data back in again. And we're going to use clear collection, because if we don't clear the collection, it's just you're going to see like duplicates of your multiple duplicates of your data. So we're going to come here, clear, collect, and the name of our collection is going to be col_collections, because we already have col collections. And then we're going to say we want to collect our customers. So the data that is within our customers list in SharePoint gets dumped into this code collection. So now let's see that. So now I'm going to create a gallery. Let's add a gallery to the page. I want a blank gallery. So here's my blank gallery, and then my data source, where my data is going to be coming from, is going to be right here on the right hand side, data source. Click this drop down. I'm going to scroll down. Here's my collections, _collections. So that's my collection. And as you can see, nothing is showing because we haven't told it what we want it to see, what we want to be displayed yet. So let's come in here and click this to edit it. I'm going to add text label. I'm going to add another one. But let me go back to that first one, and we're going to say, let's do first name first, _name. And then for this next one, let's do last _name. Okay. So let's kind of reset that data again by going to a different tab and then coming back in again. And as you can see, there's our data. Let me bring this up a little bit. Okay. All right, so now that we've added that, now we have our collection. So now let me show you how the add columns works. Now we use the add columns. It essentially just allows us to just add new columns to our table. So we already have this table here, this collection here. It just has 2 columns right now. So let's go back to our visible, on visible. And here's how we add a column. We say add columns. We say add columns, and then we're going to tell it which column we want to add. Just give it a name. First, we're going to add our customers. So we're going to add columns. We're going to create this new collection. We're going to add a column, and it is going to be full name. It's in double quotes. And then we're going to tell it which columns we want. So we're going to say first name, first name, last name. Oops, let me not forget to concatenate. Make sure you use the ampersand and not the plus sign. It'll give you a lot of headaches. So close that off. Okay, so now let's come back. Let's go back. So now let's add our full name. So now our collection now has this new column. Okay, it's not playing nice. Okay, there you go. Our full column is right here, full name. So now we can make use of that. So we're going to come here and we're going to say all right, full name. Okay, now how do we achieve the functionality that I was showing you earlier as far as doing this? How do we achieve that? And that's what I'm going to walk you through next. All right, so now go back to my screen 4. And so let me first add my button. Let me come here, look for the icon. Let me add any icon at first. All right. And then I'm going to click here on the right hand side and I'm going to choose edit. Okay. Now what I want to happen is when this edit is clicked, I want there to be a box that appears here and appears there. But before I can do that, I need to have another column. And the column that I'm going to call it is editing. So let me go back to my on screen here, on visible for my screen. And I'm going to come here, I'm going to add another column. And let's call this column is editing. And it's going to call it false. So now I'm going to add this new column and it's going to be false for every field, for all the records. So let me add another column just for visual purposes. Oops. I don't want to add it there. I want to add it within my row. Let's come here. Okay, let's do this. All right. So now that I have this column, don't worry if it doesn't make sense. It'll make sense in a second. So is editing. All right, false. So this is what we're gonna use to toggle, to hide our controls to make it visible and non-visible. This is the field we're going to use, this item.editing, and this is how it works. So when we click this, we want this to stay true, to turn to true. So let me show you how that works. So when you click this, we're going to come up on select, right? So when we do the on select, we want to make changes to this item, this editing. The way we make changes is we're going to do a patch. We're going to say collections. No, customers actually. Oh, did I call it collections? Okay, collections then. Let me make sure. Oh, I did call it collections. I meant to call it customers, but that's okay. So come here. All right, we're going to do comma, this item, comma, we're going to edit, is editing, so we get a record, true. Oh, I see what's the problem. I'm missing the I, is editing. Didn't recognize it. Okay. All right, so here's what we're doing. So when we click this button here, we're basically, this is how we're making changes to our collection. So we're saying this item here, this item which represents the record that we're in, this row represents this item. So we're updating this collection with this item, and what we're changing is this is editing column that we created, and we're changing it to true. So let me show you how that works. So if we come here and we click this, see how it changes to true? Now, this true is what we're going to be using, as I said earlier, to control what we want to be visible or not. Now, let's come here, let's come back in here, let's add a text box, a text input box. We're going to put it over here. Let's call it first name. Let's create another one. Make sure this is really long. Okay. Let's create another one. Input. Let's call this last name. And then we're going to go to the default of this, and we're going to say this item dot first name. And we're going to do the same thing here. Say this item dot last name. Okay. So now we're going to change this. We're going to go to the visible property of this, and we're going to say this item that is editing. So as you can see, it's true. So for the visible property of these is going to be true. That's why it's showing. But for these bottom ones here, it isn't showing. And I think I might have, let's see here. Let me go back and see. Let me put this to the side. Oh, what is this? Oh, I'm sorry, it's supposed to be right here. Let me move this. This is for the full name. And yeah, something was weird. Like, wait a second. All right. And this is the last name. Okay. So now let's add that same isEdit into this visible property of this field. Let's say this item that is editing. So as you can say, we're using this editing to control the visibility of these boxes here. Let me move this to the side. So let's see how that works. Come here. All right. So now what we're going to do is let's add our save button. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add the save button, and then we're going to patch whatever's in here to our SharePoint list. So let me add a save button. Let me just come here, copy that, paste. And then we're going to come over here, just type in save, boom. Okay. Okay, I'm sure you all know how to patch, but for my new folks, let's go through this. If you know how to patch already, you can just fast forward. So now for our save, we're going to come here and we're going to say isSelect. So, I basically already had a head start. Okay, let me see. Oh, that's because it's copying from, okay. What we want to do here though is let's delete that. And we're going to say patch. Let's patch the data that's in our boxes, that's in these boxes to SharePoint list. So we're going to say patch. Our list is customers. And we're going to do a comma, and we're going to say lookup, because we want to get the specific column in our customers list. And the way that we can find that is through the ID. So we're ID because the ID column is unique. And we're going to say this item dot ID. And then we're going to do another comma and then the fields that we need to update. So the field we need to update in SharePoint is first underscore name. And then our field here, the name of this box here, I believe we named it first name. Oh, you know what? I think wait a second. I'm updating the wrong icon. This is our edit icon and this was correct. So let's add this back here. So we want, when we say, yeah, here you go. All right. So we're going to say F name. Oops, F name. What did I call it? Oh, first name, sorry. First name. Let's do that again. First name dot text, comma, and then we're going to say last underscore name, and we're going to say last name dot text. And let's remove that last period. All right. So let me explain what I just did. Let me first expand this. So when the user clicks on this save button, we're going to when you click on the save button, we're going to patch our data from these boxes, our first and last name, back to SharePoint. So basically saying, do a lookup on the customers where this ID is equal to this is equal to the ID, where the ID in SharePoint all right, I had to pause the video real quick to add the ID column. So basically we're doing a lookup. So this is the ID of each record and it's a unique value. So we're saying where that ID is equal to the ID that we clicked on in here. If there's a match, then make this update. All right, let's see what happens. Let's test it out. So let's come here and let's say change it to Clark Kent. Save. Let's come here. It's Isaac right now, but if I refresh, it changed to Clark Kent. Now let's go back here. Now, we also want to close this. So how do we close it? So let me come back here. Let's go back here. And what we really want to do is save to our collection. And let me show you what happens if we don't save to our collection. So if you remember the little formula, this patch right here, let's come here. Let me grab this. Copy. Let me come here. Right now, these boxes are shown because it's true. When they click save, we want it to go, we want it not to show. So let's do false. So we're gonna toggle back and forth. So this is editing, this column here, this is editing. This is what's controlling the toggle. So let's come here, let me do this. If I say save, see that? If I edit, so I said Clark earlier. Let's say Clark, save. Now as you can see, even though it's saving the value to SharePoint, Clark Kent, our gallery, our collection that this gallery is using is not updating appropriately. It's not syncing with SharePoint. And the way we do that is we also, not only should we patch the SharePoint list, but we also need to patch our collection. So let's do this here. We're already kind of halfway there. Let's finish it up. So what we're going to do is we need to add the other fields. So we need to say first, actually what I want to do is just come over here and copy this. Just copy that. Same thing. Just come here, paste. All right. Now let's go check it out. All right, let's see. Let's say the Hulk. And this over here, let's say, I don't know their name, Superwoman. Let's change this person to Ant-Man. All right, let's save. So I'm gonna save this, save this, save this. It looks like it's sticking, it changed it, so let's come here. As you can see, it just changed. Okay, the Hulk, Superwoman, Ant-Man. Let's put a Z at the end of this. Let's put a Q here, Q there. Save, save. Let's go to our list. Refresh. See that Q, 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 Ant-Man. Yep. Added a Z here and a Z there. So that worked. So essentially, our isEditing is what is helping us control this. Now, what we want to do is when it's in editing mode, we don't want this to appear. So what we need to do is we need to hide this. And as you remember, this is false, right? So right now, let's come here and let's say this item that is editing. See how it's gone? False, meaning that the visibility shouldn't be there, right? And then for this one, it needs to be the opposite value of what the save button was. So to make something opposite, you do an exclamation mark, and then you're gonna go say this item dot is editing. So now what happened? And pay attention to this here. See, true. True means when you put the true in the visible, it shows it. You make your changes, change to false, hides it. So let me do a quick recap for my beginners. I know this is a pretty long video. So basically, I showed you how you can have this setup of being able to edit certain columns in a record when you click on the edit button like so, and then you can also save it back to SharePoint and also update your collection. You can, on the unvisible property of the screen, we talked about clear collect and how you can add columns. So in our example, we added the full name column, and that full name column was a concatenation of first name and last name from our SharePoint list. And we also added the isEditing column, and the default value, we made it false. And we use the isEditing value to control what controls or text is being seen and not seen, as you can see here. So I hope that made sense. If you have any questions, please leave your comments in the bottom in the comment section, and please like the video. I'm trying to post as often as I can now, but like the video. It's kind of a motivator. If you have any questions, leave your comments below. Thank you. Bye.